Today, we're going to be talking about population PK/PD modeling. We've already talked about PK/PD modeling in general. We're going to get into what this population aspect can mean. So when we've been thinking about PK/PD modeling, it's been for some drug, and we think about kind of three different things about this drug. So there is the dose of drug that is given, the concentration of that drug that is actually available in the place it needs to go to then have its effect. And then we've also been developing models of what that effect is. And so we have been developing models that kind of relate these things. So first, we've been relating the dose with concentration with our PK or pharmacokinetic models. And then we've been relating the concentration to effect with our PD or pharmacodynamic models. And our pharmacokinetic models have been mostly dependent on how the drug is given. And then how the drug is cleared or metabolized. And y'all have been looking at variation in drug metabolism across various groups, whether those be ancestral or gender. All right, so when we think about these PK models, typically what we're going to have is on our axes, where our x-axis is time, and probably on the scale of something like hours, just to give it some sense of reality. And then our y-axis, oh, I'm going to run out of space to write that. Our y-axis is the concentration of drug. Right. And those plots that we've been looking at, that y'all have now seen multiple times, is something that is going to look like this, where we have some maximum concentration, Cmax, and then there is this, let me change to a highlighter. Then there is this area under the curve, which we call the AUC, area under curve. And then we also have the half-life, which is the time it takes for the drug to reach half of its maximum concentration, right? So these are some of the pharmacokinetic parameters we've been looking at, and we've been making these models that assume that everybody is going to have this same pharmacokinetic profile. But as you all know from the readings you've already done about health disparities in pharmacokinetics, that this is going to vary between people. And so the way that we handle that is to develop these population PK, or this is specifically a population PK model, right? So now we have the same axes, time, and that's square, drug concentration. And for one person, the pharmacokinetic profile of this drug may look like this. But if someone were a slower metabolizer, then the curve may look different. It may kind of still get up to our Cmax, maybe a little higher, but it's going to take longer to come down. Let me erase that little tab. Right. And so this can potentially lead to differences in Cmax. Differences in half-life. And very big differences in area under the curve. So, which is really how we think about about how much drug a patient gets over like their whole dose, how much effect they have from that drug. So if this is our AUC for our patient that is a rapid metabolizer, and then this is our area under the curve for our patient who is a slower metabolizer, we see that there is a pretty big difference in how much drug that patient is exposed to after a single dose. And so this makes a big difference when it comes to the pharmacodynamics. So when we have a pharmacodynamic model, which is always going to be very drug specific, if we were to put this concentration profile into our PD model, which is really what we're doing when we're combining our pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic models, it's allowing us to go from dose to effect using these two models. Then we may have very different effects for the different patients. So our patient that's in blue, our slow metabolizer, will have high effects. And these can be good and bad. So the good effects will be better and the bad effects will be worse. And then versus our other patient who is slower metabolizer will have decreased effects relative to that. And again, good and bad. So not as many good effects, but also not as many side effects. So this really matters. And when we're building a population PK/PD model, we're going to say that there are distributions of drug sensitivity. Oh, that's my research, sorry. Distributions of drug pharmacodynamics. So if everyone were the same, so this is going to be, we can think of this as metabolism or clearance, and this is going to be number of patients. So if we have two groups, and y'all are all modeling kind of two groups, it may be men and women, it may be women on birth control versus women not on hormonal birth control, maybe people with African ancestry versus people with European ancestry, people with Native American ancestry. you all have different groups that you are studying. And if those groups were the same, then they would have the same, well, we'll do them this way. They would have, no, I don't like that. They would have the same distribution. So our pink group and our blue group would have pretty much the same distribution. And you can imagine those are the same. I'm just not the best drawer. But if we have one group that is going to actually be faster metabolizing, then, or is going to be, I'll keep the colors the same, is going to be faster metabolizing than the other. So pink is faster metabolizing than blue, the same as above. Then their distribution may shift. Their parameters for drug clearance, which actually, as I was going through y'all's models, all of you called this K, big K or little k, but just K by itself. These might be different. So then we can they might be different. And then we can make a population PK model where we sample what patient's parameter for clearance is going to be from this distribution. And do not worry, the code already does this for you. But so for our blue patients, we might have, one looks like that, one looks like that. They're like pretty similar, but they're not identical. All patients are a little different because, I mean, we're all a little different, right? We all have differences that may cause us to metabolize our drugs differently. This could be anything from body weight to ancestry to sex or gender. And then our slower or our faster metabolizers, they're going to be sampled from a different distribution, right? They're going to have faster metabolism. So in general, they might look more like this. And they might have some variability, but maybe one of them's a little slower, maybe one of them's very fast, but we're going to end up with some distribution of our pharmacokinetic profiles. And so just again, these axes are time and drug concentration. Right. And so this will then propagate down through our PD models, causing differences in effects, which we also want to model. But those are going to be very specific to your drug. So you're going to have to develop your PD model or models and see how this affects those intended effects and those negative off-target effects. So I'm real quick going to switch screen shares to share my laptop screen. And what I'm going to share there is a collab notebook, everybody's favorite collab notebooks. All right, we're now sharing that. So for each of you all, each of your groups, I have made you a population PK/PD model, and then it will say your drug name. I'm just doing this example with phlorotropine because I think I did my last example with morphine, and we're trying to switch it up. So this includes your model, and that is right here in the system of equations. And you will probably recognize your model because you wrote it and I just put it into code for you, so you didn't have to worry about it. And as you develop your PD models, I will continue to adapt this section in particular so that you can also include your PD models in this notebook and get results for those as well. And then down here, We're actually going to solve the equations. This is the same things you've seen before. Remember that you do have to run your cell in order to be able to use my little sliders, and I'll show you what those sliders do. All right. So this is showing the results of a population PK/PD model. And when diff is set to 1, that means there's not really any difference between the pink and the blue groups. If I were to shift diff to the right, or to make diff greater than 1, then our pink group would be faster metabolizing, or slower metabolizing rather, and have a higher AUC in general. If I were to go the other direction, then our pink group would be slower metabolizers. All right, and then just for visualization's sake, you can change how many lines to plot for each group. So this has 3 lines, 3 pink, 3 blue. You can go all the way down to 1 line. And these are kind of random, so you won't get the same lines each time you change the slider. And then you can go all the way up to 10 lines for each to see a really kind of dense distribution of what is going on. And so this is how you can visualize your PK, your pop PK models, and you can shift what the difference is between your groups. Also, you absolutely do not, and probably should not, keep the colors that I have done. I just kept with pink and blue to be consistent with the lecture. But you can change your colors, and you can change them to so very many things. On this website, which is XKCD, you might have seen XKCD comics /color/RGB. We have a list of just the XKCD colors, which were done by a survey based on like what people called these colors. And you can use any of these colors in your model. So let's do like sky blue, because I feel like it's kind of Carolina bluish. And I'll do an example with that. So its name is Sky Space Blue. And so I'm going to change this blue to be XKCD : no space, sky, then the space, because they had a space, blue. And now if I rerun this cell, if you're going to change colors, you are going to have to rerun the cell. And now the blue is changed to that sky blue or Carolina blue. And now these really look like baby boy, baby girl colors. Oh, the phone is ringing. It's spam. All right. And so you can do that. You can also use these hex colors, or whatever hex colors you've been using in your poster. Like if you looked up what the official hex color for central gray is and you want to use that gray, then you could just put the hex code in that place. So just the hex code hashtag and then its number. And now if we rerun this, that blue will now be gray. You can see it's now gray and pink, and these colors look, I think, a little bit too close. Like they don't contrast quite well enough. And so that way you can change the colors of your plot to make them fit your poster. You can also save these images. I've seen a lot of y'all do screenshots, but if you just right click on it and save image as, you can save it and load it somewhere else. All right. And so right now, everyone has only finished their pharmacokinetic models. So your notebook is only your pharmacokinetic models. As soon as you finish a pharmacodynamic model, I want to put it in the notebook for you. So tomorrow in class, when you finish a pharmacodynamic model, let me know so I can go in and update your notebook. And then you will have another plot. You'll have one for your pharmacokinetics, then you'll have one for your pharmacodynamics. And this will kind of let you keep moving forward with the project, keep on pace, because we just have tomorrow or Tuesday in class and Thursday in class to finish these posters before we present them the following Tuesday. So